Welcome everyone to the 270th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It's 60 something another. We totally are on time. We're punctual as ever.
Are we recording this week?
That's technically true.
Yeah. So as always, we have a small horde of people here. We got the Fluffa Claw case.
Yay!
I don't know where I'm
Like
going with
that.
this one.
Sounds like a deadly pouch. Just like
Everyone should have just screamed at the same time.
ah.
Yay!
Ah!
Y'all can't even do that. Come on.
Nope.
And Pixie just has macaws behind him going.
Yep. I'm busy filling out the Brony survey that is on our subreddit.
Oh.
Array Science Research.
What is this?
On our
Well,
subreddit and
you are.
posted second
On
last invite chat.
www.reddit.com/MLP Drawing School /comments/ no, I'm just kidding. Just the subreddit. You'll see it. You'll see it.
Go contribute to science. Yeah.
Science. So as always, if you have any art you would like critique, any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to ask. And if you have any commissions you'd like, I believe CPC is trying to buy a video game right now, so definitely just commission her and only her.
Mm-hmm.
All commissions directly to
I
her.
already wasted my money on a video game, and now I need to make up for it with commissions.
Just commission all three of us at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. All right, so let's get to work here. First picture, Tofu. You with us, buddy? Tofu?
Yep, I'm here.
Sweet. You got any questions in particular on this?
Not particularly. I know what my problems are in this one. I just want to see if anyone else can spot any other problems. Because, yeah.
Noted improvement. I mean, your backgrounds and foliage looks delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank
It
you.
is good.
Hello.
Hello.
So what I think I would look into... Yeah. Where's your light source? Light source up there. By the way, it's the top left-hand corner one.
Yeah, it's a bit, looking at it, it's a bit, the light source is a bit lost. There are some parts where it's like, on this, like, particularly on this pony up at the top, if I can just find my pen, it looks like the light is coming from this direction, but then on the back end, it looks like it's coming from this direction.
And also
I
on
And
him.
on this, yeah, same. There's like light coming from here, and then light coming
And
from
there's
here.
like, and the big shadow over
Yeah,
here.
which is like coming down from the top. So like you can see all the arrows I've drawn. This is how many different light sources there are. Typically, you want to just say like, okay, so drawing. Here's my light source, or it's like, off the side here, and it's coming down this way. This is where the direction of the light is coming from. It's
I see.
always this way. So that way, stuff will be in shadow or in light, depending on what you've chosen.
Ah, right. I think I did the shadow a bit too hard. The big shadow on the ground is meant to be just the Pegasus, and the shadow of the pony. I think I did it way too hard,
Right.
and then it turns out really
So
weird. Turns out, yeah.
All of this shadow, or you can't see right as I'm saying it because of stream delay, but the shadow on the ground around the pony that's laying down is basically the shadow being cast by the flying Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. It does come across a bit confusing because it just sort of looks like the pony on the ground just has some like weirdly big shadow being cast around them.
Exactly.
I almost
which
see the
could be
shadow as
tree.
like coming from the tree, but
Yeah,
obviously there's no
that
shadow
is a
here.
different approach. I was just about to say that it's a different approach you could take rather than having the light come from the direction I just drew it in. Let me just delete this. What you could do instead is to have the light source coming this way, and basically then just like everything. New layer. everything is just in shadow, right? So let's see if I have it. Do I have a big pen? No. Okay. There we go. Oh. So all of this, maybe not up quite up there, but it's not letting me draw for some reason. Okay, there we go. You can have a lot more of this in shadow, and then basically just and that would include lots of the character as well. If I just splurge darkness on everything, it's hard to do without just like by hand. It's much easier to do with a brush, but you can do like little like tree gaps, and you can do that on like the character. It's I didn't have a very strong effect, so it's kind of hard to see. But and again, like I said, it's difficult to actually do properly. But if you look at characters resting in the tree, there'll be all these little gaps in the leaves
Yeah, I
around.
see what you mean.
Yeah, so that could be an interesting way if you don't want to, if you're worried about like doing a lot of like very strong shading. If you're worried about getting it right, you instead could make the shading a little bit softer, but cast a big shadow on the both of them. So that would account for this character up there in the top as well. That way you can do a little bit of just sort of playing around with the shadows. But it helps if you have a brush that's specifically designed to have leaf shadows, like I do. Well, what I used to do was I had a brush for leaf shapes, and I would just like erase parts and then just use the leaf brush to just go around the edge and add it back in with a layer mask. But that's not ideal. The best thing to do is to on Clip Studio Paint I found a pretty cool brush for the leaf gaps, but I'm sure there's one on Photoshop as well somewhere.
Right. I'm thinking just using the like what you said, just using the leaf brush that I use for the tree. Make that the eraser and just erase the shadow out.
The only difference then is that what you're getting then, the absence in the shadow is the shape of the leaf, and that's like not super accurate because what's casting the shadow is the leaves, and what we're seeing is the gap between them. So if you imagine a circle where light is shining, and then around the edge of it, a bunch of leaves are like blocking the light. That's sort of like the shape we're getting. But just look up like photos on Google or Bing or whatever of like tree shade characters or people sitting in the shade of a tree, and you'll find lots of examples of it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just an option for your creativity there.
Understood. Yeah.
I came across this video the other day. I don't know if it will be useful. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but it's about shading. So there you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, great.
Gotta find my tablet pen. I somehow accidentally spring launched it off of my lap into the mess on my foot.
Like the shading here looks really kind of bland because the color just goes into like black, right? It should have color shadows, but I did have color shadows, but the problem is I used multiply over the whole thing because there's only for color in there, and if I'm gonna do like color shadow, I have to color pick each one, adjust for each one, and that might not be consistent. That's my worry about it. That's why I use multiply instead, which is kind of like a lazy way, but multiply makes everything darker. That's the problem.
I use multiply too to avoid it being too muddy. You can just mess around with it and make it a bit more saturated. Base color
like take a color, scribble on top of the character. If it doesn't look right, just try like go into your little color circle or triangle or whatever, and just drag it diagonally towards like the saturation, but also darker, and then just drag around and just keep messing around until it changing the hue and the saturation and everything until it looks relatively okay. Then do the rest of the shading, and if at some point you decide, oh, actually I don't think this looks right, you can mess with the opacity of the layer, or you can mess with like the hue saturation, so you can adjust it after the fact to like make the color a bit lighter or a bit more saturated or whatever it is you need. And I would then recommend doing the same thing on a different layer for every other like section, like different mains, different coats, anything you'll need a different color for. You don't have to keep them on separate layers if you don't want to, but just so that you can adjust them without like messing up the other one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I try to do that for my studies, you see. Oh, sorry, CPC, I just kept interrupting you.
No, you can finish.
For my studies, I do click like color mask every single layer, each individual layer, like eyes, skin color, and hair, and render them individually, so we have like nice color going on. They can, starting from the work. But when I'm doing like big drawings like this, I just get kind of tired. I'm just like, I just like maybe I just need to take more time with it, because like in the end I'm just like, this shading is like so much stuff. I'm just like, I would just have one layer of multiply, just like just do it.
I mean, I only use one layer of multiply.
so
like if I have, we're so bad at this today.
Go CPC, go!
Should I go?
Yes, do it.
Yes,
Okay.
Do it.
So what I do usually, I have a single layer of multiply. Like I use the same thing for the whole picture, and then I'll go. So I'll get to this part where you are now, and I'll get to there, and then I'll pick the color of the shadow and saturate it and make it slightly darker, and then I'll go over on the darkest parts, like the parts where you'd have the most shading, and do it manually now. With manually picking colors, just so you can like make a bit more depth on it.
Okay.
Like here, this is kind of difficult because I always use like watercolor brushes to do it, and this program doesn't have it. But
I will say it's not helping very much with my the color I'm trying to paint does not look like what is coming out. Wait, now it's the one. It was using the wrong color. The one that's on top is not the one that is actually painting with. That's weird. What is happening? That's so weird. So here you have like the two color squares all overlap each other. It's coloring the one that's on the top left, but that one's underneath the other one. It's so weird. I was trying to give you like an example of a more warm shading.
Oh yeah. I did try
given
to
that
go
this
something
is
like that.
given that I know it wasn't your intention to make the shading muddy or like gray, but since this is a warm, saturated, sunny day sort of piece, you definitely want to have like the warm shading, I think.
Yeah.
It adds to that effect of it.
So what you did, CPC, just let me repeat what you said, so just make sure I get it. So you first of all you multiply to get like a general area, and then you go back, hand pick the color yourself, and then just add more depth to it, like painting over with watercolor brush. Is that how you do it?
CPC?
She
Oh,
lost.
okay, she's lost. Oh, here she's back.
Okay.
I think I'm back.
Yes,
Yay.
you're back. Lovely.
I talked a whole bunch. I don't remember what I said. I'm sure everyone has said the same thing. It's fine.
All right. But yeah, that sounds pretty interesting to try out. That's like a good combination, the two.
So yeah, just generally like work on putting down and adjusting the colors for your shading and the direction for your lighting. That's kind of what everything boils down to.
Yeah. Keeping direction consistent is hard as well, because sometimes when you draw it, just you lose track of it. I try to had like a gradient of this drawing before as a guideline, but I still misses parts of it. I think my gradient is wrong as well. As maybe that's the problem. Is that CPC just?
So explain your whole process. Sorry, like from start to finish in shading.
Let me just show you the picture. It's easier. Let me just get a screen cap out. Sorry, give me a second.
As for just losing track of what the direction of your shading, you can always draw in. I know sometimes it's just helpful when you have something very complex to literally draw your light source in there. It could be a sphere, it could be an arrow. Like if you have a backwards facing thing, just always have that present, so you can always refer back. Like, oh, it's coming this way, so I'll get nice highlights here. While most of this will be in shadow. And
eventually you'll just get a it will become second nature to just think, okay, the shade, even if you don't want to do a complex thing like coming from behind or in front, if it's just like, okay, I understand that the light is coming from the top left, coming down diagonally, so like that's what I'm doing with my shading. It does take time sometimes, but you will get there eventually, where you just, no matter where you are in the picture, you'll understand like your orientation in the picture, where you are in it, and how you've got it rotated and stuff like that. And you'll be able to just like know, oh, I'm looking at this leg over here, and it's and even if I'm zoomed in on this part, it's I know where I am and I know where the light source is coming from. It just takes getting used to.
I see. Yeah, I see what you did there. You draw like a really large circle, and that's really helpful. I have really exaggerated like large circle there just to remind myself. That's very cool.
I was just doing it to highlight like just say you were zoomed in on this one particular part. I don't know how like detailedly you zoomed in while you're drawing. Like I tend to go like quite close in myself.
I see.
I just meant like if you're looking at one part of the drawing and getting lost, like I completely understand. Like I get it with line art. Like if I'll be zoomed into one part of the drawing, I'll like be lining away and then realize that another part of the drawing somewhere else has like thicker lines. And I'm like, oh god.
So you can see the picture I sent in voice chat. That's the gradient that I started with.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, and then I just this one I've done like really small scale. So like in like a in like a thumbnail, and zoom really out and just start doing the rough shading to see how it turns out. And then I use that in my pure ref as a guide for me to do the detail shading in the background.
But see, everything else feels like the light is coming from the background quite well, but the character that's flying just again feels like the light's coming from all sorts of different directions, and it's just a case of like understanding where the light's going to fall on them.
Yeah,
like picking a direction and then sticking with it. And like most of the time, what I do is I pick a direction and I just, like Ali said, to go through and draw the lighting. And what she means by that is you can zoom in somewhere here. Is just to go like, okay, so the shading. Let me have a normal layer, please. If the light is coming from say the top right, then it's like okay, the lighting goes like something like this. I don't know, and it goes like here, and then it like cuts off there, and it's just drawing out like the layers where the lighting might fall, just so you have like an idea of like of what to do when you go in and do the shading, you know.
Let's see.
And if you're doing cell shading, then like just put a bit more effort into this, and that's literally the whole shading. So
yeah, I think that I would try out cell shading, but the problem is that it's the 3D shape again. You know, if you can understand the pony 3D shape pretty well, you can do those very confidently. Like for me, I still have to rely on soft edges sometimes to just blur over some of the parts that I'm not too sure about. So,
I definitely think it's good because what you're talking about is how, you're applying flat shadows to an object that is round, which like just logically doesn't make sense. But the point of cell shading is that it implies the 3D shape, and if you can nail that down, it's like learning to drive in a manual, and then you can drive automatic because you know how to draw a manual, and that's more complicated. If you know how to draw a cell shaded, then you can do your soft shading and blur everything and work on the sort of roundness of the shading by how soft you're doing it. But if you know how to create good shapes using cell shading, then like that's gonna help a lot. You don't have to. It's sort of a good ground level because, like you said, if you're using the softness of the shading as a way to not have to make it exact, then maybe you want to take those training wheels off and just force yourself to come to understand how to use it without the saving grace of it's okay, it'll look better when it's blurred. You want to make sure it looks good anyway, and then.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try that out definitely. Sounds like a definitely good idea because I'm trying to get to the 3D shape as well. I mean, cell shading would be helping. Yeah.
I mean, in general, it's like if you ever find yourself saying like, I can't do that yet because I'm not good enough at XYZ, don't bother with that. It's like you're never gonna be quote unquote good enough for a lot of stuff. You just try it, and the more you try it, the better at it you'll get. So if you want to get good at it, do the thing that you don't think you're good enough at to do yet. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks, VC.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Video. Yeah. Also, I'm done with the survey. It was pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Our next one is a spoiler for MLP Gen 5. So here's your warning. If you want to go in completely blind without knowing that there's characters in it, Look
Oh my
away.
god. There's horses in the horse movie. What the
I
hell?
don't
Movie
believe
show.
you.
Okay. Someone explain this. There's a movie and then a show
Yes.
directly after it.
Yeah, well, it's
Yep.
I don't know when the show's being released, but yeah, it's based on the movie.
Okay.
To be fair, knowing a character design, I think, is a big spoiler. But
yeah,
that's just me.
the movie basically introduces the generation, and then the show follows it. I think.
Think of it like the big first episode.
All right, that sounds fun.
Fun.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
I
He
immediately
initiated
started
the fun.
drawing
Cheers.
with blue on the blue background.
Oh no.
Okay. So I don't see any questions from them. This is by Ponsky21. Let's just hop on
Ponsky.
in.
He's a cutie. A very cutie patootie.
Good horse.
All right, that's good critique. We're done.
Yep, exactly. You can see all of us trying and failing to make a nice head shape.
Yeah, this is hurting. 1 sec. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna blame my standing position. Oh no. Oh my god. I'll get there 1 year.
Not this year, though. Not this year.
Why?
Maybe we should get a little fade layer under it.
Cool.
This was not. I don't know what I'm doing. Normal Zai does this.
You just
What
stick
do I do?
Here. I'm gonna fade there. Oh,
There, I
there.
did it.
Someone made a fade layer.
Oh,
this
right,
good?
that's what you're trying to do. I'm sorry.
They faded my layer too. Bully.
I was just having trouble seeing my own sketch with the black outlines.
Uh-huh.
This isn't critique, it's just my brain.
Yeah, we do this so that we can see our sketching easy. This isn't like light and everything.
Now
Please
it's
don't do
harder
that.
to see my sketch.
Though I do gotta say, I really love those eyes. They're so glowy and shiny, like little water pools. It's really cute.
I think the thing I'm noticing about the body is just the wing position. You've moved them quite far down. I'd bring them back up because generally they're sitting on the shoulder blades. Now I know horses don't tend to have very prominent shoulders, but if you imagine where their spine is following along, so if we do, just got to drag my layer up here above this fade layer so I can actually not be faded. There we go. Oh.
I will not be faded.
Wait, I'll move this over here. I think I moved it to the right place.
So if you're to look at a horse from the side, okay, apparently I can't draw on my layer now. Cool, my favorite. Yeah, loving it. There we go. If we look at the side of a horse body, we go head, body, badonka-donka-donk.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Their spine rolls across the top up here. Whoop. And their wings would be situate, or the connector of the wing would be somewhere right about there, which would be what I like to call a shoulder blade, but in actuality it's not because their arms are like way down here. But for the visual element of it being directly connected where a shoulder would be if they stand upright, that would be it. So based on the Russian info chart, movie in late 2021, TV show comes out in 2022. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Now we know. Thanks, Hazy Spark. Wait, does Hazy Spark have art this week?
They just asked in voice chat a little bit ago.
I wasn't paying attention to that chat. Scroll. Wait, where's theirs? I see Tofu's, CPC, KT. Oh, HZ, Hazy Spark. Haha.
Oh.
All right, we'll do yours next.
Yeah, with the head shape, basically, you just need a little bit of like a dip in at the bottom part of the eye. So where yours does this, it should probably do something like boom, and then come back out for the cheek, sort of thing. That's kind of that's the main thing. There's a bunch of other little tips and tricks that we can tell you, but that's kind of one of the main things. And adding the second
I
ear.
way overcomplicated with mine. Like you get the weird nose shape and everything. But
Nah, it's all good. So, a good thing to do, a good thing I like to do when I'm focusing on my ears is I'll have my head here. And, you have whatever way it's sort of facing kind of thing. And then I'll just have boom and boom. Or something like that. And that. And that'll let me sort of work out roughly where the ears are and get a bit of a look at the how it sort of impacts the pose a bit without actually having to draw the ear. Don't just draw like a little weird swoopy thingy. So you can start off with that and then draw an ear over the top or something like that. Might be useful.
But hey, you got even like the far away leg that is almost invisible over here.
What if it is invisible? What if you're just imagining it? What if that leg doesn't exist?
I mean, considering how my health has been today, I wouldn't be surprised.
Is that Ali drawing the green pond?
Yeah.
He's super cute.
Oh, thank you.
All right, shall we go on to our next horse?
Yes.
Let's do.
Horse sounds good.
Let me just.
Where is the horse we're looking for?
Hold your horse.
We
Head
can't.
start.
We need to critique it.
Yeah. All right,
Hazy
it's filled
star.
in the last area.
Oh. Oh, I see.
That horn is wild. Hazy, tell me about your horn there, because it is fancy. Reminds me of a corkscrew, like something to open wine.
I would make a little gap here in the hair where the horn is coming out. Like right now, just looking at it, I don't know if it comes out like here or here or here. So I'm just gonna go with the safe one and go in the middle. So I would like swoop the hair out of the way and give it a little gap for the horn to come out of.
Do you got any questions in particular on this picture for us? I haven't got any response from them.
Telling us about the movie. Ah, there we go.
Found a horn guide somewhere which has to do horns much more 3D looking. I mean, yeah, So here's the fun part of making art: you get to do whatever you really want. If you decide horns should be this way, by all means. If you decide they should be like springs on a pickup truck, sure, that's an answer. If you decide that they should be like 8-legged spiders coming off the head, by all means. We're just trying to get an idea of what you're looking for so we know how to guide ourselves through the critique here. So decided to toy around with the idea of 3D horns. Yeah, and your horn actually looks very, very unique. If you were to keep doing a horn of this style, a lot of people would imprint it with your sort of art. It's a very easy thing to latch onto.
What I did here in the face was just... So the way it looked to me looked very much like you just did this. Why isn't this working? Oh, because I hit my layer. Like this, it feels like it goes like this, but the muzzle is more of a box. So what I did is like, there's this line here, there's this line here, there's this line here. So I did it more like this, and then this side is... You also have the line here. We just don't draw it because it's rounded. It's not going to be a sharp line there. But I always draw it as a guide. Then you can do it like this. And then another line here. And then here it goes up, following the face, because it's going backwards. So this is like a box that comes out like this. And that was most of what I did. And I think like usually it wouldn't make that much of a difference. I think it's just because your horn is so 3D that the fact that the muzzle wasn't quite matching it was bothering me a bit. And then of course like this whole part here you erase. It's just a guideline so you know where the muzzle kind of starts and ends.
Yeah, don't be too scared to beef out the neck. For me, I think like of like sort of all of this area is neck sort of thing. This is kind of the back. Something like that is kind of the front of it. And when you're sort of drawing ponies in this sort of neutral state, the neck will come forward to some degree. Doesn't need to like come crazy amounts forward or like even like that, but just a little bit, just to sort of keep it all balanced, sort of thing, because their head is kind of a little bit balanced with the rest of their body. So yeah, with the muzzle and the face and all that sort of fun stuff, it can be a little bit of a challenge. I am like that. I think honestly the best thing for that will probably just be referencing other people's art and then trying to redraw it. That's kind of a lot of where I got my thing, is that I just loaded up a pure ref with a whole bunch of muzzles that other people drew, and then I looked around it and tried drawing a bunch of them, and then I stumbled on something and I was like, oh, okay, this doesn't look too bad. But then the problem is you need to do that for like most of the different angles that you draw ponies from, because a front-facing muzzle will look different from a 3/4 muzzle, will look different from a side profile muzzle. So it's all a challenge of looking around and trying to find what shapes work for all those angles, kind of thing. Yeah, the 3D horn's really good. this is kind of how I do my one. It's a little bit simplified. It doesn't have like the explicit ridges in there. And I like things that are really lazy and that I can skip almost all the work on. So. When it comes to like style and all that sort of stuff, I think the ears and the muzzle are usually the things which can be the most different. So feel free to spend a bit more time on that if you're looking for style stuff.
Something I noticed
in... chest.
Sorry.
No,
I should open Picarto so I can see the chat.
Yeah, it's easy.
What I noticed on both sketches is that I felt like the eye that is close to us is actually smaller than the faraway one. So you usually want to keep the same height which you have, but then the side that is closer to us would be quite a bit wider than the faraway one, and it will depend on how turned your head is. So it's like a front view, they would be the same, and the more you turn, the more the faraway eye becomes narrower. I just thought I would point it out because I noticed it in both sketches. It's a bit more noticeable on the small sketch here, but I felt like Twilight also had a bit of it.
Yeah, like this eye is facing us more front on, so you see it wider.
You got any further questions for us?
Are you all questioned out? I like the little recycling logo in the muzzle. Gotta art sustainably.
Gotta boop sustainably.
Muzzle is definitely what I want to try and get down. Eat them references. Time. Digest them.
Eat them. Steal other artists' muzzle style stuff, and the shapes they use, and the lines and how they connect, and all that sort of stuff. The muzzle
for the longest time,
weird.
sorry.
No. Oh, good. You go.
For the longest time, I just did this like little swoop shape for my noses because I didn't feel like dealing with all the boxes nonsense. one shape.
Yeah, I just my nose is just like, oh, I need to draw a nose. Wait, there's no color on my brush. Well, it's too small. I don't know. Boop. I just do a little thing like this until it looks relatively right, and sometimes I just correct it. I'm like, okay.
That is beautiful. This right here is majestic.
I kept drawing boxes, and then I stopped. I started ignoring my boxes, and I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I mean, I had a box for a while, and then I got annoyed at the box, and I did a circle, and now I do this weird little shape.
It's
like a chair.
It's a complex. Yeah, it's a complex like sort of a thing because you can sort of change whether the tip of it is wider or
Yeah.
that is wider, or whether
I never really like the
sort of-
boxes because I don't want my muscles to be square. Like, to me, they're a complex shape, but like I've showed this to someone before, but the way I equate like I said, I just said that I do the muscles is I just wing it. But like, if I would equate them to a shape, it's a diamond. And I've drawn like an actual like emerald gem cut like shape, not like a rhombus, whatever. I'll try and find the pictures in my folder somewhere, but I did like a little draw over with how I draw my faces and everything. But I because it's a complex shape. It's not a box. It's not a circle. It's like it's its own weird thing. So it's hard for me to. It's hard to get right without just sort of like winging it for me personally.
I mean, that's why I swapped with sphere, because the box was just boxy. And then I'm doing this thing. I don't know what this shape is called. It's just called a squiggle.
Squiggle.
With some
It's a snoot.
some lines thrown in.
All right, so they say that's all their questions. So let's move on to our next horse.
Well,
we're gonna do the Fluttershy and Apple Bloom at the top.
Apple Bloom.
This is, I believe, this is Spitfire. Yeah, Supermarine Spitfire. Yeah. Fluttershy Day 2021. Is it? Oh God, it's 2021, ain't it? Some days I forget this.
Yeah.
Did a bit more shading this time around. Yeah, you totally did. It's looking very nice for that soft shell, or the cell shading. Oh my gosh, why is that a tongue twister every time I try and say it? Just had to leave out inking step feature, drawing the plan on, taking through the... Okay. Apple, so this year's prompt is Small Act of Kindness. Here's Fluttershy is offering Apple Bloom a lollipop. First drawing references in the given image code. Apple Bloom's jaw is a little too clunky. Her head looks rather large when compared to the rest of her body. The bottom line of her hair bow curves up too sharply, which makes her hair bow look pointed at the bottom. Apple Bloom's rump is pointed rather than rounded. The outer edge of Fluttershy's raised hoof should curve less strongly around her waist. No, her wrist equivalent joint. Her raised leg should be wider. Supermarine, you're just critiquing yourself here. This is wonderful. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, what more questions do you have? Like, you've spat out a heck of a lot of critique about your proportions and what you've done here. What questions do you have for us? Us being anyone who's critiquing you. We aren't the only people who critique, despite it looking that way.
Yeah, it kind of in a lot for a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is the stuff that we probably would be saying, and the question I think that you need to look at is how can you notice this earlier and then correct it yourself. So I'm not sure if you are already, but if you aren't, then there's usually a button in like most drawing programs to like flip the canvas horizontally, just to sort of flip it back and forth and compare it and see it. I normally bind my flip to F, but there's also some programs that use H for horizontal or
we learned the other day that there's Krita uses M.
Yeah.
Clip Studio's H.
But flipping stuff while you're drawing will give you a bit of a chance to get a fresh look at it, and then fix some of this stuff when you're like more in the sketchy stages, when you're in sort of the stages before line art and that sort of stuff. Because honestly, most of what you pointed out is sort of the stuff, and if you do have trouble, so if you know that this is pointy and it should be round, but you're not sort of sure how to do it and that sort of stuff, you can keep just a set of standard references. So if you open up or have Pure Ref, then you can probably find like character sheets and turnarounds of these characters and just put it into the program. And then, they'll always be there. And instead of like, having these 6 pictures from, or these very specifically picked 6 pictures from Derpy Bureau when you're going into the drawing or whatever, just having like, here are my standard horse references, here are my standard pony references, and then you can sort of get familiar with those shapes and all that sort of stuff. Maybe might be useful.
What I would do here with the eye, it would be to not have the thickest line here. What I usually do, because I don't think I heard LD talk about that, but I don't have the greatest memory.
I was just reading what they said. That's nothing that I was saying. Just
True.
That's all things they said.
So how I usually do it is I make the far side the thickest line. So here where your eyebrows connect would be the darkest. And then a little bit underneath, like this. This is very subjective, but I just think like the front of the eye would be mostly black, and then the further you go back, the darker it gets. And then you'd have your little eye here. Also make this highlights come out of the eye, and possibly not have an outline for them if that's up to you, but I would make them overlap the white and just be like, just grab the color of the eye and just do this. Instead of making a line around them, makes them look less like stickers. I think, did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I do have a question before we do. If Fluttershy was to make lollipops, what flavor do you think she would make?
Kindness.
Kindness is a flavor?
It is now.
Okay.
She'd make them out of like carrots that Angel brings, and then no one would want them until they try it, and they're actually pretty good.
Oh, it turns out carrots are loaded with sugar. All right. This is by Snipers. My drawing of my MLP OC as a sniper. I'm trying to get better at my anthroponies.
Heck yeah. Anthroponies and more humanoid bodies. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
All right, they have no questions listed for us, so let's just do this. So I notice you put a little fuzz on the face over here. Just fun. Oh, that's the wrong brush. Good fun fuzz on a face. But then there's none over here. That's a great spot for a bit of fuzz if you're going to do one cheek. You got to do the other. Leave no fuzz unfuzzed. I just also tilt the horn just to go with the rest of the face. I've gone ahead and drawn your head as a beach ball. We've bisected it both horizontally and vertically. And if we draw from the center of this line all the way to the center of the back part of that curve, we get, oh, that's the wrong color. Let me get back over here. We get the back of the head here. And if we go, here, let me do a more noticeable color. I'm going to do this green. So if we do that, basically it comes out like this, 45-degree from the center of the head, outwards, protruding, shooting up through the skull. Then we get the horn. And it helps us get an angle, or at least an idea of what the angle would look like from the front, or for the horn angle. So I've just gone ahead and fixed that just a touch. I would also roll the ears slightly out. The only reason I would suggest this is because what's going to end up happening on the top of the head whenever you get this converted to a plushie, because of course that's what's going to happen. Everyone needs a plushie. It's going to be weird eyebrow ears. So if we roll them back a bit and roll them out towards the side a bit, it makes them a lot easier to translate it into a 3D object to ensure that they to ensure that they aren't taking over the eyebrows. I do love the shoulders, the hips. That's all working well. And the scarf, mwah, chef kiss. I do have a question about the scarf design, though. We got a bunch of stripes. Stripes are wonderful. Stripes help, create that nice profile of the body, get that slimming look going. But the lines are still horizontal, even with the scarf that's tied around the neck. Wouldn't they go vertical if they're following that?
They should, yes. Yeah. One of my past girlfriends had her OC always wore a scarf with blue stripes, so I got pretty used to drawing it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's hard with the body and all that sort of stuff because it's really easy to have like little things be off and all that kind of stuff. I tried to redraw it sort of over here a little bit, and it feels a little bit. I'm not sure. I think one of the things that's kind of throwing me off is this scarf is hiding this area in particular. And that area in particular is really important for seeing that the form makes sense and that it like all still exists and that sort of stuff, and that that the chest is there, because with that area hidden, my sort of brain
it could be anywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of completing it into all that shapes, and it's kind of given me the impression deep down that it's kind of not as correct. So you could probably move that a little bit sort of that way, and even have it like the sort of basic line of action, the sort of unifying line through your pose. I see it as something being like roughly kind of like this, and I feel like having that be a little bit more over here would probably help with that as well. But in here, I sort of made it this like, yeah, actually that might be it. It might be that it sort of doesn't come sweep to the right up here enough, because whenever you're having this sort of like a swaggery, cool pose for like a human standing up, you sort of want balance in it. You want it to come out to the right and then come out to the left. At the moment, the head is really big, and the body is all to the right of the head, and so it feels like they're gonna like tip over. So taking a bit of a squiz at or a bit of a deeper kind of a look at real people kind of doing this pose, and maybe even doing like just a little bit of like life drawing stuff. There are sites out there that give you just a bunch of like clothes models and that sort of stuff if you want. Will probably help dial in your sense for balance in terms of a pose like this. But really cool drawing. I like it. this part especially, you did a good job with all of that stuff. It turned out really good. Yay, horse! I'm excited to see more. It's just more stuff.
Yeah. All right, shall we move on to our next horse? All right, we got a horse. We got a horse. It's a painted horse.
Oh my god!
This one is by Cosmic Ragdoll. Cool name. Pony Sauna of My Boyfriend and I. More than one pick. So we're gonna do
I saw that one.
the purple one, because generally we try and choose only one picture per artist, just to make our lives easier. First question: what did you draw these with? What did you draw them on? I'd be interested. I can see some interesting artifacting that can happen on some programs, some points and edges that happen on some other programs, and the fact that it's pictures of a screen leads me to believe it's a third set of programs. So I'm interested what you're using here, and we might talk to you about looking into some cooler software, some more user-friendly software, and best of all, free software. Because buying art softwares can be such a pain in the butt. If you go look at our sideboard, you'll find actually a listing of a bunch of different free drawing programs, and then a listing of some paid ones. But check the free ones out. Things like Krita and that. They can be heck of useful. Just to give you the tools that will make drawing easier for you. That's my pitch. Now, buy my book.
I like using these ones. Draw Pile and Aggie. They're not really. They're kind of primarily designed to like draw with other people and draw online and that sort of stuff. But I do like how they work.
They are very simplistic, which is wonderful for approaching it.
They feel nice.
I'm not a fan of Aggie only because I have to use it in Edge, and anything that makes me use Edge makes me cry a little bit.
Right.
I used mine in Opera because Chrome just lags.
See, weirdly, Chrome. I have to use mine in Chrome because my usual browser is Brave, but it lags on Brave. But then you found the opposite way around. That's true. Weird.
Oh yeah, at some point I downloaded Brave because nothing was working, and then Brave worked.
I like it.
Yeah, I've always used it with Chrome, and it has been alright.
Brave is basically Chrome, but slightly more efficiently working.
Yeah, and your mileage may vary. Boy, howdy, have I tried a lot of different software, and I do sort of roam from point to point. Like last week, I was playing with Psy 2 just to see what the updates have given us, and it's kind of looking pretty cool. I noticed that Clip Studio Paint at some point fixed my biggest gripe about it, where now they have an autosave function.
Yes.
Oh, it's been a while.
Listen, I haven't
just
drawn
be careful
digitally.
if your computer isn't very powerful. The autosave might make it crash. Just warning.
Ooh. You know, I've never had my paper crash.
Yeah, true. I've had my paper crash. I've had all my art supplies crash out of my desk because I pay a lot of attention to what I'm doing.
I know.
Huh.
With your eye. Let me draw this. Use this one as an example. You can draw the eye like pretty big from the side. It looks cool. But if you want to get that sort of more 3D sort of a look, you can also draw your eye pretty short, because we're sort of looking at it from the side. We're not looking at it from the front, and from the front is where we see the big eye. So that can be useful. And with your ears, something that I've found pretty nice is let me erase all this. Goodbye, yeah. Oh no, did LD crash? No, good. Something that I found useful for some simple but like interesting looking ears is to have one side completely straight and the other side curved. And it's a simple thing, but it gives a bit of direction to your ears. It makes you have to sort of decide which way they're facing. And...
It's a good starting point for like the base of general shape of it. I always find it's very helpful to do that before you go into the more subtle like curves and stuff.
It looks like your lines are very small and precise and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely feel free to do some long, sketchy like lines, because it can be a lot simpler to sort of create these more nice looking shapes when you're doing that stuff. CPC.
I would also suggest that if you're using a mouse and not a drawing tablet, to look into vector programs. I think there's also vector programs for free, and they're quite a bit easier to work with than with a mouse than just raster drawing.
It's like I think trying to draw by hand with a mouse with like free drawing tools is kind of insane. Like, sure, if you practice and practice and practice and made this like your skill, and you could become a master artist and do amazing things, but like it would take a lot of hard work, and it would have to be like your main focus you'd be working against yourself specifically to do something differently than everybody else. But there's a reason why people don't draw with a mouse, because it's just not designed for you to be able to do your hand stroke the way that drawing does. But like working with vector means, or even just with curve tools on a main art program, but I would also recommend vector. That's the much more natural way to draw with a mouse. In fact, I actually find it a lot easier than drawing with my tablet pen, because with the tablet pen it can be very imprecise when you need to click on like a single pixel where like a node is or something, and the pen moves as you're hovering it towards the tablet or away from it. When you like drag a line out or something and you move the tablet away and it suddenly changes, like, oh god.
I don't quite use vector, so what I do on Clip Studio is I use a vector layer, I draw on it, I simplify the line, and then I play with it when I need something really smooth, like the drawing I posted earlier. I did a lot of that because I wanted it to be very curvy, since I'm going to reuse those lines. Hopefully a bunch.
The vector layers.
Side note, the off topic, do you ever just like you try to draw a line and then you like undo the line so you can retry it, but you realize that the first attempt was actually pretty decent, and then you just can't replicate
you can't go back.
Yeah, you can't go back. That's why sometimes I erase instead of undoing, but you never like know that in the foresight.
I mean, you can go the extremely perfectionist route I went with the previous one and do the draw it on the vector layer, then use the vector tools to simplify the line, and then you can move the nodes around, because if you just try to move the nodes, there's a million of them. That's why you have to simplify the line first. But that there is a bit overkill. Just don't do it.
Good job with this drawing. Feel free to chuck some more stuff at us.
All right, let's go to our next one. Up. We got a horse. Weird, right?
It's a tricksy horse.
It's a tricksy horse. This one is by someone in my tabs here. Short Tail. Latest cover of my friend's latest cover for my friend Smokey. I love the noir style and I have been playing with it. Here's an alternative cover for Miss You 5 Ever as well. I'm trying to make the art still have depth but still keep it high contrast shadow. Yeah. So
they sounded like a lot of lights.
Sorry?
And that individually makes sense.
It's not often I see noir with color.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, I see it sometimes. Usually it's like mostly in grayscale, and then there might be a pop, one important color.
I love ones where it's like also like black and white, but there's like one or two colors, and that those are sort of used for everything. Like Persona 5 has that all over its style. As an example.
I know, like if you go watch, what was it? What was the movie? Damn it! Not completely escaped my mind.
Just watch.
Yeah, just watch every movie of all time, and we'll get there together.
And you'll know what LD was talking about, even though he never finished his sentence.
You're welcome.
You have solved art for everybody because it could have been anything. So you'll draw your own meanings and learn. I was maybe gonna post a picture on drawings and drawing a pony from like a very serious extreme angle from like above, and I was like, I might need help with the head, but actually I think I got it.
I'm gonna do this. Side profiles are weird. You need to be. I find that you need to be like so precise and all that with like side profiles. Kind of the opposite of like most artists, where like most artists hate front facing stuff, but I like front facing.
I wish, like, I'm happy for you. I disagree, but not in a like, oh, you're so weird way. I wish I had that confidence in front view characters. I prefer third quarter, but like completely side view, I enjoy well enough. It completely changes my style is the thing. Like I enjoy doing it, but I just end up with like a completely different looking art style somehow. Where is the Chrome? I have moved it. I was literally looking at it. I don't have two windows up. I was staring at it on one screen and went to go draw on my tablet. I was like, where's the window? Oh, I cannot draw on this. That's a multiplier layer that will not show up on black. I am crazy. So, why is it still... No! Stop it!
You're having a hard time.
I try to draw it. It's. I don't understand. Oh, I guess because this layer is normal, but it's underneath the layer with the black being drawn on it. So it just wants to draw.
Oh, sorry, did I had something from you, while I was doing the shading thing?
No, I just tried to start drawing, but it wouldn't show up because it's underneath the shading. You preemptively did it, if anything.
Just guessed where you're going to draw and then draw on that exact same place.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
You could, I would recommend perhaps, or I guess maybe it might be to do like, there's a reason why they wanted the desk right up to her face, but for the sake of like having a table in Ponyland, that would be sensible for them to have, as well as making it easy enough to put their hooves up on top of it. It would sort of make sense to have the table lowered a little bit, I think. I'm trying to like we're trying to stretch the legs to fit the table, but maybe it should be the other way around. You know, maybe Pony Engineering would say, oh, it's much easier to put your hooves on this. It depends if there's a specific reason why it needs to be up at like squinting level.
I would actually Because the way I'm seeing this is that she's interrogating the plant.
I just saw that.
You could actually exaggerate it by having the
She could be. Yeah, I was gonna say she could be leaning down over
table
the
lower, and then
table.
you'd get the neck. She's a bit of a giraffe here, but this is a very messy sketch.
Bring those shoulders forward.
It's like Celestia instead of Trixie.
Well, it's
Very short
totally
arms.
acceptable because what this is like a cartoony thing trying to be trying to. There's humor behind this, so I can like if this was actually in the show, having the pony, especially if it was Pinkie Pie, stretching stretching the neck to have the head lean forward a little bit to do like to do some form of emoting would absolutely work. And in this case, the pony's for like leant forward towards the desk and the neck stretched out for a second as they like I'm onto you kind of thing. Well, I could definitely see that working in animation. I'm bad with front legs, so I don't know why I decided to take on trying to draw this. But I agree that leaning the pose forward is or doing what is up in the top right to where I was just drawing. Either way, having a sort of more dynamic pose than just having them like sat down, like all calm and still, like they're having a tea party.
It's hard to just do this kind of like a pose and have it look natural, or have it look not distracting.
Mm-hmm.
It might probably like this. This does it really well.
Yeah, what I would say
because it has that like sort of back arching thing, but like
for these
if you're not
for the two drawings we have going on by our friends here on the canvas, the way I could sort of like sum them up is like even in something as sort of ordinary as just like a sitting down leaning on a table pose, which just by itself doesn't sound like it's very action oriented. It's just like it's a party sitting down with their hooves on top of the table. But even a sort of like ordinary pose like this can have motion and action to it. And if what you're doing in a scene is supposed to have energy of a certain type, you want to reflect that energy in your posing. And I know it sounds very, very daunting, but there's plenty of examples you can find and references you can find of like how to use posing to put energy into your drawing. And it might be like sleepy energy if you're drawing characters like lazing about and they want to be all limp and floppy, or maybe you want to have something like this where the characters are sort of tightly posed because you want to have like that sort of like action and suspense going on. There's definitely a way of like inputting the kind of energy that you want in a scene by using the posing, and I think the posing is one of the biggest parts of that. So looking up like comics and animations and stuff like that, like just looking at MLP and just finding the exaggerated poses in them, and just like screenshotting or whatever, or from other cartoons as well, of course, just especially the exaggerated parts. Those will work to your benefit to try and figure out how to do the posing.
You could also see that I started with a really rough sketch with the proportions all whack, where she had a huge neck and everything, and then you can always come over again and fix it up a bit.
Yeah.
It's I find it better to start with the proportions all whack but good energy, and then you can build on top of that. Because the more bones and stuff you add to it and making sure the proportions are right, you tend to end up more stiff rather than looser. So it's nice to start with a really action sketch, or and I don't know, the line of action just swoops at the beginning, and then you can start adding straight lines and worry about anatomy on top of that, because then you already have that energy from the sketch below it.
Lines of action are so good.
Yeah, I try to use them, but I'm not very good at interpreting them myself.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Good drawing.
CPC, why are you making Trixie threaten a plant?
She's clearly guilty.
That makes sense.
Yep.
All right, we'll go on to this one. Yeah, this is by Kiborgen. Trying in facial expressions using you-know-what references. Hank template is less leathery due to drawing using grayscale with overlay mode. Some days I can't read.
That's good. All right. You did it good enough.
Okay, so
this post is something.
These look good. Good drawing.
You've successfully created a meme, or drawn a meme.
Ponies with human teeth.
Yeah, it's just weird. It is very scary. I think that's the point, is to create something off-putting and weird, because that's oftentimes what memes are, especially these expressions. So I think you've done that very well. We're all quite off-put by them.
Then hit
I
the
mean,
nail
you say
on the
horses with human teeth are disturbing, but I also find horses with horse teeth disturbing.
Yeah.
So horses with teeth are disturbing. That's what you're saying.
To be fair, even like a human with like realistically drawn human teeth is also disturbing in cartoon or animation. Like really, teeth have to be very simplified to not be weird looking. That's what most cartoons and anime do. We just have like white brackets or like the sort of like anime like teeth gritted thing.
I think the big thing that sticks out to me is like we talked about in a previous piece, I look at all the line art and it looks like you're doing these very small like streaks to get each shape right, when it'll really benefit to just try to swoosh a little more, get a little swooshier with it. You can still take shorter strokes, but it's more about getting the swoosh in and not so much just constantly be striking a line down every time you want to go forward. So if you're using your program, and it has some form of stabilizer, don't be afraid to use that either. And that'll just help with the line quality overall. Because like I said, a lot of this seems very just like there's no smoothness to it at all. And if the style, I mean, some styles do have like a roughed up texture, but usually that's from the brush and not so much the person creating the line art. So even if you still had a rough brush, you'd still have smooth lines. It would just have some texture coming off them.
And this is digital, so you can always just overshoot, then erase, which is what I did there on the side.
Hey, Allie, I got a
Yes?
question for you. How would one increase their swooshiness of a swoosh line?
Oh, well, you see, sometimes when these strokes, these little strokes happen when we're, getting a little too monkey scratch or chicken scratch, whatever it's called. That's because we're mostly using our wrist. Now, to get the nice swooshy shapes, that's hard to say, surprisingly. They come more from the elbow and the shoulder. You get kind of your whole arm moving in on it. And while you can do some swooshes, like very delicate small swooshes with your wrist, a lot of the good swooshes, they come into play when you get your whole arm involved. So, squiggle, 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 swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Don't be afraid to do it because, as CPC stated, you can overshoot it and then erase.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I'll like do a big full swoosh, and then decide, okay, I love this section, I hate this section, and I'll just erase all of this and then keep going.
Yeah.
Everything's fluid. Go crazy. Go off. Go wild.
Just scribbled all over it.
Yeah. I literally, whenever I'm like getting a little bit too precise and all that sort of stuff, I'll just like open up a page and just be like, draw a bunch of like junk, because your lines, like a lot of the time when people are like drawing small lines, it gets like drawing from the wrist instead of the shoulder, but it can also be like wanting things to be perfect, and your lines don't need to be perfect. Your lines can suck. My lines suck. It's all good. Just be messy. Be lazy. Be messy and sketchy and weird, and then maybe you'll be a little bit looser and be able to do some more smooth lines. Also, it's good to keep in mind with this horse in particular. Actually, you've done it in a few ones, but just keep in mind that thing where like the if their head is like tilted to the left or to the right, then the eye that's closest to us is going to be wider, and the one that's further away is going to be shorter because of how the head shape works. And also keep in mind the cheek. You don't need to go insane with it, but even just like a little tiny little bit of a bump there can go a really, really long way to like making it look like a more traditional horse drawing stuff.
All right, shall we move on to our next picture?
Let's go.
Yeah,
Sure.
good drawings.
I got a surprise for all of you. Surprise.
So cute. I love it.
Oh,
Just
I
so
saw this at first and I thought it was a drawing of Ali.
no. I would love that.
Pretty close though.
It's the
Do a
poof.
bit of color
I
swap
just,
them with her.
there's only about 20% of the poof that I would require there. I need a few more.
Listen, you just came out of the wash and now it's not, you haven't had the blow dry.
Gotcha. I see.
You haven't dyed your hair red yet.
Yeah.
From my time as a blonde.
So this is by Claire205715, and it's drawing I did for school. The prompt was surprise! So I drew the Gen 1 pony called Surprise. Bold of you to do a horse like this for school, and I hope you got an A+, because it's adorable.
It's
You
so
smashed
cute.
it. It looks
Also,
so
the
good.
paper. The paper you did it on. Man, I love the texture of that paper.
I love that you did it on tan paper and then you like added the highlights and stuff.
Oh yeah, they're so nice.
I like doing that myself. It's always fun. I have this like big brown sketchbook. It's fun to use like white gel pens and stuff. Or acrylic pens.
You might not want to sign it with your name. You might want to pick up a persona. Because
most people
as a
online
surprise. Sorry?
Yeah, so yes, most people online tend to use a pseudonym.
Because it's the internet and such. You can always put a post-it note over the top and then scribble your alias on top.
It's always just like whenever I see someone who just has like their actual name as like their username on anything really, be it Discord or actually for their artwork or music or whatever it might be, I'm always like, that's weird. What do you mean their name is just like Clive or whatever? Like I don't know, random name. Just like your name's not like Ponymaster 813. Like it's weird.
See, to me, it exudes like a powerful Aurora because it's like they're so like this is me on the internet. I have nothing to hide.
Either they don't care, they just don't care, or they do it professionally. Both
yeah.
scary.
Yes, exactly.
I'm totally gonna go into like like some freelance work and be like, "Hi, my name's Rainshine Sparkle." Like, like an interview for a graphic designer position or something.
There are so many names of like artists that start with pigs.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There are a few that start with fluff, believe it or not.
Everyone just wants to use pigs for their name, but then pigs is taken, so they all go with pigs.
Yep.
I for a while, whenever I posted a picture to Derpyboro, when you start putting like the artist colon and then like name, it would come up with like the tag. So like as I type like fluff, it would like come up with like a whole bunch of names, and there'd be like a few ahead of me, like Fluffy Maiden, and there was someone called Fluff Explosion that had like loads, and then I'd type Fluffy, and it would just be like me and Fluffy Maiden. And then eventually I overtook them, and then eventually I overtook Fluff Explosion. I was like, yes, take Fluff and Fluffy's eyes, the top one. And it's just
I love
amount
it.
of pictures, not quality.
I changed the ear shape a little bit because I like the ear shape being a little bit more of that like straight on one side, curved on the other kind of thing. It just feels a little bit more deliberate. I made the cheek a little bit less intense. Just whatever. It's either way, it's all good. Keep in mind this area around here. It's really easy to. No, it's actually it's a really tough area to get, but I think it kind of defines a lot of your style, sort of thing. How you treat this area, sort of spreads to the rest of your drawing, because it's a really complex place of overlapping and weird stuff. So pay attention to that, and then that will probably be useful elsewhere.
Yeah, I just sketched
looks good. Good drawing.
I just sketched a bit over the legs, just so they were kind of looking a bit. Oh my! They were looking very curved, but there's bones in there, so it's more like this would be the line of action. Then you have to make the bones with it or something. And then you can put flesh on top, and then that's more curvy. But it wouldn't just go like wee. That's basically what I did here.
With your main, if you look at a lot of the if you look at Pinkie Pie and that sort of stuff, they have these kind of like lines through the hair, sort of thing. And a really cool thing with those lines, is that a lot of the time they like reinforce the form while adding a little bit of like extra flavor and that sort of stuff. So if you want the pony to sort of look pony's hair to look a little bit crazier, or a little bit more formful, or that sort of stuff, experiment a bit with that and see where it gets you, because it's really fun to mess around with and see what happens. Fun drawing. I love it. Good.
I was like surprised she's cute.
All right. Anyone else have any other art they'd like to post? Any other questions they'd like to ask? Now's your chance. Otherwise, we're going to call it a day. Then you're going to have to wait.
How was your day, LD? As a question.
How was my day?
How was your day?
I ended up yelling at students.
Oh no!
One final thing on this drawing. Keep in mind where the hips are and where the shoulders are, because in your one, it goes out a fair bit. It looks like it has this kind of like bump up here, when the actual bump for the sort of shoulder is kind of a little bit more down here. So just keep in mind where they are, because it'll help your drawing feel a little bit. Anyway, yes, yelling at students.
Can I ask a question? I always have problems with drawing output faces. I just had an attempt compared to the one I have. Just let me upload the image real quick. Give me a second, please.
How are your references for it?
I don't. I try to do not use reference, because I want to break them into shapes so I can practice that 3D thing in my head. That's the
Well,
idea here. So
it's good
I
to
do
do that with
this.
references first.
Grab the
So
references.
you see like this. I have no idea how to draw like the upper one before. I use boxes and I kind of get it now, but it's still kind of weird. Like
Yeah. I mean, I totally get what you're trying to do. I think it's just there are people who have done these sort of things similar to this, where you've got the head at different angles, and none of them are perfect, but you can break those up and then sort of interpret it here on your one. So you break it down and you take the basic shapes and you sort of copy from that and sort of try redrawing those shapes and then turn that into the drawing. But I think you've done a good job of interpreting the different angles.
yeah, I did do something similar, but it's just sometimes when I'm trying to do it, it just doesn't turn out right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, head angles are very difficult. I was doing a very difficult one for this commission I'm drawing right now, which somehow I managed to actually do okay. But I was on the verge. I was like, I'm probably going to need to like post this to everyone and have this critiqued on the stream because it's a difficult thing I'm attempting. But thankfully I didn't need to. It's just experiment. Try like just it's a hard thing because for me at least it's just a case of trying to understand the 3D anatomy, like attempting it. It doesn't work, you try again, you just like keep like reasserting what you think should be appearing, like understanding 3D shape, and then just scribbling it out, trying to keep it loose, trying to keep it sort of free, because then that and flexible, because then that helps you form the shapes a bit better, and just adjusting what's there until it looks right, or until you're not going to improve it anymore, and maybe you need to scrap it and start again, and just do that as many times as necessary until something clicks. But looking at references of characters with their heads at different angles is definitely like 100% going to help, so you can break those up, or you can try drawing it yourself and then look at the references and then break up what you drew, and break up the reference and compare and see what you did differently. There's also different ways to study, but I definitely think you're on the right mark for trying to figure it out, because it is whatever you can do to get little bits of experience under your belt. I think is helpful.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, this kind of like exercises like something that you'll always be messing with and always sort of have to. It's it's one of those things where you just like kind of constantly. It's
Like-
something you'll always need to work on a bit.
Like you're not gonna just like, oh, let me try and figure out head angles, draw this, have it go perfectly, and then
Nah.
and then suddenly for the rest of your art career you know how to draw faces,
Nah,
at
that's
different
not
angles. It will always be something that you, like Pixie saying, you've always gonna you always
Looking-
have to try and interpret it.
Yeah, I think when you at those kind of like extreme angles, looking upwards, I think there I posted a little thing and I've got those like red lines. I think positioning, like my ones aren't correct in that drawing, but like figuring out where those go is pretty important, and where the jawline is pretty important.
Yeah.
And how prominent the jawline is like kind of useful. And like to get something that looks good, it's just going to be a case of looking through drawings that other artists have done, and pictures of actual animals and people and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I see. Just overall, just build up the what do you call it, visual library in your head, and then you start getting it more and more. Yeah, I do get the point that it's not supposed to be like one click exercise. I think I've done this exercise like I think 15 times now. It's like every time that I do over the period. It's not like today. Otherwise, I'm going crazy.
You're crazy, yeah.
Yeah, I will go crazy. I do this 15. I try to do something else as well. I build myself a new grid. That one's like 25 per angle, and that one is absolute crazy. I'm just like, no, if I do that, I will actually just burn myself out. So yeah, but I get this like this is like kind of fun, because it's like every time I try to do a new style, I do one of these, because it just challenge me on what the shapes of the jaw is gonna be like in those angles, like what Pixie just said. It's kind of fun sometimes, but especially trying out with expressions. What I'm trying to do here. I'm seeing in the future maybe with hair as well, so I can get rid of that 2D pony hair from the show, more like a 3D shape head. It's hair I'm trying to do.
What you want to go for, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in the end I just need to break it down, looking at reference, and start getting it better and better. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take a look. I think I might have some pictures from.
Yeah, I'm trying to find like a good reference. It's like a good gallery of head angles I can draw. I can't find any. I just have to draw all the circles myself.
Yeah,
And it's so annoying.
Find one thing where you have all your references. I think it's going to be, getting things different sources wherever you can find them.
Yeah, I mean like a base, just like a head. Like
right,
I just want like a layout of circles with the angle in them, so I can just draw my head on top of. I just can't find a good one. So this one, you can see this one. I actually had like a someone's sketch. I actually have to like draw all the circles myself, all the angles myself, and just like trying to interpret it as best as I can. So you can see some of the lines on the circles don't look that perfect because I drew it myself. It's just like ew.
I'll find the actual source link in a second. Pinterest. I don't have my login on Chrome, but I'm assuming you've seen this one. This is what I always find, but when I type pony head angle on Google, it's like the first result. There's other ones.
That's the one that I'm trying to work on. I have like two. I flip this image around, so I have like both sides. Like in total, I think it's like 50 head. I'm just like, if I'm gonna finish 50 heads in a day, I will go crazy. I actually drew that as well.
Just try drawing the different parts differently. I'll tell you, if the whole thing doesn't look right, what you can try doing is hold your finger over or just like cover up or erase one part. Like just let me try covering up this ear and see if it looks better. It can help you to sort of isolate things that might be problematic.
I see.
If you're not quite sure why something looks weird.
I did something similar to this. Yeah. So this is what I had. So I have that as a base, and I just draw all the individual circle on top of it. So I don't have the reference, so I can't rely on it. So I'm trying to build my own shape on top of it, and yeah, that's like this head on there is like really sketchy attempt, but it's gonna be fun.
What if instead of filling out these grids, instead of doing every head angle every time, you did like almost like an animation test where your goal is to look from left to right, and then in a sequence you have to draw the pony looking left to right, and maybe another day you want it to look up and down or diagonally, whatever, and it makes you like you just have to follow the sequence one by one and make it look in that direction, and that way it's not just like a grid. You actually actively have to think of the head turning, and that way you draw your own circles. Everything's like in practice.
Because really all of this is just for the sake of trying to understand it in your brain. But when you're drawing, you're not going to be referencing this type of thing every single time. You're going to be just trying to understand how the 3D shapes work from this angle. So all this is an exercise in trying to help you to learn that from the beginning. It's not so much you're trying to create an actual reference point that you're going to be using every single time.
No, I get that. I get that. This is the reason I do this practice is just to get that 3D, like I said before, like 2 weeks back, to get that 3D shapes in my head, just to get what it looks like. That's why I'm doing this. But it's gonna be interesting. But I get what you're saying, Ali. I think that's a very good idea to do it with not just figure it out at once and just go crazy over it. Just do it over time. I think just like maybe I can do the first bracket today and then another one. Just slowly fills them out. See what make it more interesting. It's not just like filling
it can like whenever I'm like doing some practice like this and all that sort of thing, I sort of try to focus on the ones that I know that I'm struggling at, because those are the ones that are gonna give me the most benefit from and all that sort of stuff. So that's might be sort of another reason to just try it once or twice, chucking away that grid and just drawing in the circles and stuff in the void and seeing what happens. Because this here, this grid stuff with the bunch of circles, that has the head in it, but it doesn't have the body. It doesn't have what the head connects to, and it doesn't have the neck, and that's really important for when you're trying to do these sorts of things. Like if you look between the one I posted of Loom's sort of stuff and the one I posted with my sort of stuff, I found the most value by having sort of the neck in there and having to sort of figure out how the head connects to the neck when it's in that pose and all that sort of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be useful.
Yeah, I see. Hmm.
But it's all just finding what works, finding what sort of trains the things you're having trouble with. Everyone has different exercises that work for them.
Mm-hmm. Another question is that actually kind of relates to what you just said, Pixie, because I'm trying to do quick poses as well. Sometimes when you look at poses, you just have no idea what to do. So how do you guys resolve that? Do you guys just